Good Saturday morning, guys. Finishing up my coffee. Here shortly. We're gonna go out and check out the car, get a little work done. Today we're gonna check out how the wheels and the proportions look on the car. But before we do, I want to finish the bed rails. I want to get those squared away, routed, some woodwork. I'm actually going to take them to where I work and glue up some pieces, do a little work on those, get those kind of lined out and done. And then after that, I want to do kind of an explanation of what I'm using as far as the hub, the adapters, how I'm adapting them to the aftermarket wheels, and how all that works. And then after that, I want to go ahead and put my own spin on how I modify the wheel caps, because I want to kind of take that off-road look out of it. And then we'll get just overall picture of the way it looks, the proportions, just kind of my vision of how I want this hot rod to look. So hope you enjoy it. Let's get to work. Let's stop and grab lunch. If you're from the South, you know what place this is. It's Wait-A-Bird. That's what we call it here. Because you gotta wait a long time. So typically, when you get off-road rims, they have this bulky off-road cap that is in the center of the wheel, and it just sticks out and it makes it look off-road. And so I'm going to do something about that. The rear end is out of a 05, 06 Silverado that had obviously the disc brakes. So what I did, I cleaned up. It had a bunch of old airbag garbage welded to it. I cleaned all that up off of this rear end and got it 4-linked to where it works with my frame in the rear. But what I did is, this is typically a 6 by 137 or 139.7 lug pattern, and so I got an adapter, and the adapter adapts that over to it's a 2-inch thick adapter. I just got it on eBay, and it adapts it over to a 8 by 180, like a 3/4 ton Duramax. And so that's the pattern I went with on the wheels, so I could adapt this over and go with that wider pattern, mainly because that's the only wheel in the style that I wanted. That was the only wheels that they had available at the time. So on the front axle or beam or whatever you want to call it, it came with a disc brake setup that had a 5 by 4 and 7/8 lug pattern with an old style lug threads, like would go on like a, I believe, an older Camaro. So I'm adapting that over with 1.5 inch thick spacer, and then it's going from that to a 5 on 150 Toyota lug pattern. And again, I have to go to this lug pattern so that I can swap it over, because the wheels that I went with came with a Toyota lug pattern in a 22-inch rim. So I had to do some research and figure out because I want to go with a smaller wheel in the front for that kind of Hot Wheels look. And in order to do so, the patterns that I had to choose from, that was one of the few that I could go from a 5 to a 5 lug pattern, 5 lug pattern to a 5 lug pattern. Your lug pattern for what came with this is the 7/16 by 20, which is pretty typical. It's a really smaller lug nut and thread. But once I get the adapter on, something else that it does, it spaces away from the hub. So by the time I put the aftermarket wheel on, this is not sticking out. Typically it would be out in the cap, so that big off-road cap will be covering it up. But I want the face of the wheel, where the mounting plate is, unobstructed, so that when I CNC my plate out, my plate's going to cover that right up, and you'll see here in a minute how that looks. So on the wheels, I went with a Hard Rock brand made in China, and it's a 26 by 14 with, again, the 8 by 180 lug pattern. This is the rear, -76 offset in a chrome. These are called painkillers, H502 painkillers. In the front, I went with a 5 by 150 lug pattern. It's a 22 by 12. Now the front wheels were a -44 offset, I believe. That's typical for an off-road rim that is in a 12-inch wide wheel. This just doesn't work for me. There's just something about that. It just screams off-road. The good thing is, I try to choose a wheel. I've done this on my other car, on the Speed Beetle. This pops off, so I'm gonna reuse this, but I'm getting rid of that depth by doing some special plates. And what I'll do is I'll lay all that out in CAD and make a special plate, and it'll take this out and make that wheel look deeper. And then of course I had to get some good old spike lug nuts. And I believe these are going to be your M14 by 1.5 thread lug nuts. You can see I did the same thing with these. They're also hard rocks. So I made this plate. These are nasty, but I made that plate. This had the big off-road cone look to it, but I wanted a more streetable looking wheel. So I like the concaveness of that, and I like the big lip on these. But yeah, here's a sneak peek of Speed Beetle. LQ9 LS motor hanging out of the back, and I'll be working on this one too, but I'd really like to finish the 31 first, and we'll get back to this one later. So if you subscribe, then you'll see it later on. Okay, so I just got my little plates, little aluminum 1/8 inch plates made and back. And there's a few things I got to do to them. Of course, this is raw aluminum, so I'm gonna actually paint them. But it was the front wheels are kind of weird because they had the mounting had just 2 holes, and I thought that was just, I don't know, odd. So I went ahead and placed in my CAD drawing these extra 3 holes, and I made those smaller so that I could tap them. So I went and bought a tap with the appropriate screws, and I'm just gonna make basically fake screw heads. So I'm gonna tap this, run the screws in, cut the back of the screw off, or the bolt off, and they'll be fake. So these 3, those 2, and this one will be fake. These 2 will be real. And so I'm going to go ahead and tap these. As far as, so that's the 2 fronts, and then these are the rears. So the rears had 2 also, but they were symmetrical from one another, so that doesn't bother me that much. I mean, it's just 2, so I'm not going to put one in every little area like that. That doesn't bother me too much. Anyway, I'm gonna do that, get these tapped, and then I'm gonna paint these up, and I'm gonna have to do a little bit of grinding around the edge, and that edge will allow me to pop these caps in there. And I got to be very careful because these little tabs will break off. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I'm gonna test fit it, make sure it fits good, and after that, then we'll see how it looks. Okay, let's check it out. If you're anything like me, as a kid, we had lots of Hot Wheels. Played in the dirt. Had them in my room. I'm sure there are tons of them still buried in around my childhood home. With that said, I kind of like the Hot Wheels look. So, which if you caught a glimpse of Speed Beetle, it's really kind of the same look. I like the big wheels, the big proportions. The big motor. I mean, how wild does that look? It's a adult size Hot Wheels. I think proportionally it's going to look really, really cool. A little bit different than what you normally see. Is it traditional? No, not really. The body is, I guess, but I just think it's a cool look with the really large wheels, the motor sticking up over the hood. Just the wild proportions. The bed turned out great. I mean, check out these bed sides. Once I got those finished up, those turned out way better than just the squared off piece of wood that I originally had on there, which I intended to do this, but it was just to give an idea of what direction I was going. I mean, look how wild this is gonna be. I mean, obviously I have to fill in the spot here, because this back quarter was off a 4-door, and so it was attached to the front half of another car. So I wish I had more room. I'll see if I can't zoom out a little bit, but yeah, that's about as far as I can go. How wild is that? So when I do my exhaust, I'm gonna use some ridiculous, maybe 4-inch, maybe 6-inch diesel tips coming out of the exhaust. It's gonna give that, again, large proportion with the big motor and the big wheels and the wide stance. Caps turned out good. I don't have the big bulky off-road cap sticking out. I think getting rid of this really kind of makes a difference. Does it have a little bling to it? Yeah. I mean, black wheels are kind of played out. I like black wheels, but I've got Speed Beetle in here. It's got black wheels. I just wanted to do something different on this one. I do want to paint this car. Have no idea what color I'm going with, because I'll change my mind every week until it boils down to actually choosing a color. But it is wider than my big truck, but as far as seeing how crazy this is going to be, I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy with the way it's turning out, and a lot more to come. One thing I do need to mention is I never did really go over the tires, but they are both Venom tires. They are Venoms, different treads, but this ended up being a 33 1450 on a 26-inch rim. It's called an XT, so it's actually a all-terrain tread pattern for off-road. Now, people put these on off-road trucks, but that's doesn't make any sense to me. I just think it looks cool on this hot rod. But this is, of course, a different tread, but it's a 315 25 22. One thing that I did not discuss yet is the fact that I got the front wheels before I got the rears. So I was able to I want to make sure that I got the correct lug pattern for what I wanted on the front. And so I snagged these because they were for Toyota and I could get two at a time. I went to get the 26s and ran into problems. I found out that the manufacturer would not sell just two because they want to sell them in sets. So I indeed had to buy a whole set of 26s, which means that I have two extras. So one thing I want to know from you guys, how cool would it be to set up a trailer for this, right? I've already got two extra 26-inch wheels. I can put the same tires on. What are you guys thinking? Should I go with a custom air ride motorcycle trailer, a really cool 50s style RV, maybe even a gooseneck for the rear where the hitch is right under the bed cover, where I could lift it up, pop in a B&M and set up like that? I mean, it would be pretty wild. What would be the coolest thing? Let me know in the comments. What would be the coolest trailer to put behind this, to fabricate something just one off that would really go with the whole theme? Let me know.